Hey guys, welcome back. So it's time for the weekly update where we just talk about how the week has gone and any tweaks or changes. So just go ahead, click that subscribe button and we're gonna get going. Okay, so as y'all know from the last weekly update, we was going to go on a field trip this past Monday, but we didn't end up being able to do that because this past Sunday it started snowing more, and then by the Monday morning it was just not a good idea to travel 2 hours to the Science Center. And then on top of that, once we had already canceled the plans with the other family was going with, the Science Center itself had ended up closing anyways because of weather. So needless to say, we didn't get to go do the field trip with the other family like we had planned, but that's okay because we're gonna reschedule it for another day. And since I had already scheduled Monday as a field trip day in my weekly planner, and I had already filled in the rest of the days with the other lessons, I didn't necessarily worry about having to reschedule that day. So instead of rescheduling and redoing the week's lessons plans, what my boys did instead was they did several hours researching Shackleton's expedition. And it's not an event that you'll know of in the history books. I never studied it in the history books. My husband never studied it in the history books. And I think my sister-in-law was over that day and we was talking to her about it and she's never even heard of it either. So it's one of those events in history that's a very interesting subject in history, and it took several years, but there was something else going on in history at that time that took place of it in a history book, and it never made it in history books, at least not that I've ever known. So it's a really interesting subject. I definitely suggest y'all look that up, especially if you're doing, especially with it being wintertime now, it kind of has to do with that. So it's a really interesting subject. So the boys just ended up doing some research on that topic for several hours and then writing at least one-page paper on what they did. Now, I do have a 3rd and a 5th grader, so as far as the page paper goes, it wasn't like a research paper type deal. It was just kind of more in complete sentences, paragraph, all that. Because I haven't, 3rd grader we haven't really dove into the proper way for writing papers and all that just yet. We're just more getting the fundamentals of writing and getting complete sentences and that kind of stuff, working on basic grammar still when it comes to writing a paper and getting all the facts straight. So, and like I said, we did that Monday instead of kind of tweaking the rest of the school week. This week has been a lot of fun, even though we've had a whole bunch of snow. We ended up getting about 9 inches of snow, and that's never happened in like West Tennessee that I ever remember, and I grew up in this area. At least in parts of West Tennessee, even when we lived in Middle Tennessee for a little bit, snow's never been like that. And on top of that, we actually got true snow instead of ice, because usually we get a little bit of ice and then some snow and then everything underneath it's ice, so it makes it really difficult to know if it's ice or snow. So it's been a lot of fun because we've just been able to get out every day and play in the snow, go sledding down a hill nearby, and just enjoy actual winter weather. And then we've also had we've had a really good week of school. I think everything's gone pretty smoothly on that, so that's always a good win. And then this coming week, we've actually kind of got a little bit shorter week, which I'll get into more. I said I am kind of disappointed I didn't get to do the video on the field trip, but don't worry, I will do a video that kind of talks about homeschool field trips a little more and how to incorporate them and all. But overall, it's been a really good week, and I'm pretty happy with the way Monday went. Even though we had to shift our plans, it didn't necessarily mess up any other plans this week, and it got them able to do a little bit more research on one specific topic and bring that a little bit more to light on a day that we was snowed in and we couldn't do what we had originally planned. This coming week, I'm gonna have to change up our scheduling a little bit. Like I said, I'll talk a little bit more about that probably in next week's weekly update. But you know, as always, if y'all have any comments or questions or anything like that, please leave them in the comments below. You know, shout out if you're thinking about homeschooling, how long you've been homeschooling, anything like that, because I would like to get to know my viewers a little better. But for that week, it's been a pretty simple week. Everything's gone really good. Even though we couldn't do our field trip, we still managed to experience a lot of things we're not used to, just with the snow and getting out and exploring. So it's been a lot of fun. I can't complain. And the boys were pretty good about still having to do schoolwork, even when it was technically snow days, I guess. But they didn't want to go play when it was, you know, like when the real feel was like -3. They didn't want to go play that way outside anyways. They'd rather wait till the real feel is like 10 degrees. So it all worked out. But anyways, I will check back in later this week.